My name is Kevin, and what happened to me last year changed my life forever. Maybe someone will say I acted cruelly, but listen to the whole story before you judge. I worked as a mechanic at an auto service shop for 15 years. Hard work, hands constantly in oil, but the pay wasn't bad. Laura and I met in college, got married at 23. 18 years together, that's quite a lot, right? That evening I decided to surprise her. We hadn't been to a restaurant in a long time, and she seemed somehow distant lately. I thought maybe a romantic evening would fix everything. I bought her favorite white roses, a whole bouquet for $40. For our budget, that was quite a lot. Giuseppe's restaurant on Main Street was our special place. That's where I proposed to her 19 years ago. Laura said she was going with her friend Sarah to discuss something important. I thought, perfect opportunity for a surprise. I walk inside with the bouquet looking for her, and then I see what changed my life forever. Laura was sitting at our favorite table by the window. But not with Sarah. Across from her sat a man about 35 years old in an expensive suit. They were holding hands. Laura was laughing so sincerely, like she hadn't laughed with me in a long time. Her eyes were shining as if she was in love for the first time in her life. I stood there watching my wife, the mother of my children, gently stroking a stranger's hand. How she leaned toward him, whispered something in his ear, and he kissed her neck. The bouquet fell from my hands right onto the floor. Several customers turned around. Laura also looked up and saw me. Her face turned white as chalk. She quickly pulled her hand away from that man. I didn't say a word. Just turned around and left. The white roses remained lying on the restaurant floor. But here's what Laura didn't know. At home I didn't make scenes. Didn't yell, didn't demand explanations. Just sat in my chair and thought. Laura came back at midnight, red-faced, embarrassed. Started babbling something about Sarah, about how it wasn't what I thought. Kevin, that was just a colleague from work, she said. We were discussing a project. I listened and nodded. But I was thinking about something completely different. The next morning Laura went to work as usual. Kissed my cheek, said goodbye, honey. As if nothing had happened. And I didn't go to the auto service. I went to Lawyer Johnson, with whom we had processed our will when we bought the house. Kevin, are you sure? He asked when I explained what I wanted to do. Absolutely, I replied. Our house on Elm Street was worth about $250,000. Beautiful two-story house with a large yard where our children Melissa and Jake played when they were little. But here's what's interesting. The house came to me as inheritance from my parents before marriage. Under Ohio state law, this meant it belonged only to me. By noon all the documents were ready. The sale announcement appeared online that same day. Price $200,000. Quick sale. In the evening Laura came home in high spirits. Probably met with that guy again. She was even humming something in the shower. How are things, honey? She asked at dinner. Everything's wonderful, I replied. Just wonderful. The next day was Thursday. Laura always read real estate listings online. It was her hobby. She loved seeing how much houses in our neighborhood cost. At 10 in the morning my phone rang. Laura. Kevin. Her voice was trembling. What does this mean? What exactly? Why is our house listed for sale? Oh, that, I said calmly. I decided to sell. What do you mean decided? Without my consent. Laura, the house belongs to me. It's inheritance from my parents. I have the right to sell it. Pause. Long pause. Kevin, come home. Right now. I can't. I have work. Quit work and come home. But I didn't go. Worked until 6 in the evening as usual. When I returned, Laura was sitting in the kitchen with a pile of papers. She was rereading all our house documents. You can't do this, she said quietly. I can. And I'm doing it. Kevin, what are you thinking? Where will we live? I sat across from her. Where we? I repeated. Laura, yesterday evening I saw you at the restaurant. With that man. She went pale. Kevin, I can explain everything. No need. I understand everything. It's not what you think. Really? Then explain to me why you were holding his hand. Why you let him kiss your neck. Laura started crying. Kevin, it just happened. I didn't plan. How long has this been going on? She was silent. How long, Laura? 3 months, she whispered. 3 months. A quarter of a year. All the time when I thought everything was fine with us. Do you love him? I asked. She didn't answer, but her silence said everything. Then you should move in with him. Kevin, I don't want to destroy our family. Laura, the family is already destroyed. 3 months ago. The next day I got a call from the realtor. Someone wants to see the house. When? I asked. Tonight if possible. Great. The buyers came at 7 in the evening. Young family with 2 children. Jim and Susan Miller. They really liked the house. We're ready to buy immediately, said Jim. But the price seems too low. Is something wrong with the house? No, I replied. I just want to sell quickly. Laura sat in the kitchen listening to our conversation. When the buyers left, she came to me. Kevin, I understand you're angry. But think about the children. Melissa just got a job after college. Jake is still studying. This house is the only stable thing they have. The children are grown, I replied. They'll manage. And me? Where will I live? I looked at her. You have 3 options. You can move in with that man. You can rent an apartment. Or you can go back to your parents. Kevin, I'm 40 years old. I can't go back to my parents. You should have thought about that 3 months ago. A week later the purchase agreement was signed. Jim Miller paid cash, he had a successful business. The closing was scheduled for next Monday. On Saturday Laura made one last attempt. Kevin, I'll break up with him. I'll never see him again. Give us one more chance. I looked at her for a long time. At the woman I had lived with for 18 years. Had 2 children with. Built a life. It's too late, Laura. Why? Because trust isn't a faucet you can turn off and on. When it's gone forever. Monday morning we went to the notary together. Laura signed all the documents silently. Her hands were shaking. I put the $200,000 in a new account accessible only to me. From this money I planned to buy a small apartment for myself and set aside something for the children's future. What should I do? Laura asked as we left the notary's office. I don't know, I replied. That's not my problem anymore. That same evening she packed her things and left. Didn't say where. I didn't care. A month later I received divorce papers. Laura didn't demand alimony, she knew she had no right. The children supported my decision, although Melissa cried for a whole week. But you know what? This was just the beginning of my story. What happened next surprised even me. 2 months after Laura left, I was working late at the shop when my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Kevin Martinez? A woman's voice asked. Yes, who's asking? My name is Patricia Williams. I'm calling about your ex-wife Laura. I almost hung up, but something in her tone stopped me. I think we need to meet, she continued. There are things about Laura you need to know. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown. Patricia turned out to be an elegant woman in her 50s with sad eyes. Kevin, what I'm about to tell you might shock you, she began. Laura has been having an affair with my husband Robert for over a year. Over a year. Not 3 months like she told me. How do you know? I asked. Patricia pulled out her phone and showed me photos. Laura and that same man from the restaurant Robert, in various places. At hotels, restaurants, even at what looked like a weekend getaway. I hired a private investigator 6 months ago, Patricia said. When I confronted Robert, he told me everything. About Laura, about their plans. What plans? They were planning to wait until both divorces were finalized, then move to California together. Robert has a job offer there. I felt like the ground was disappearing beneath my feet. Not only had Laura been lying about the duration, but she had been planning an entire future without me. There's more, Patricia continued. According to my investigator, Laura has been stealing money from your joint accounts for months. Small amounts but consistently. She was building a nest egg for their new life. That evening I went home and checked our bank statements going back a year. Patricia was right. Laura had been withdrawing cash regularly, 20 here, 50 there, sometimes 100. Over the course of a year, it added up to nearly $5,000. But wait, there's more to this story that will make your jaw drop. The next day I called Jake, my son. Dad, I wasn't sure if I should tell you this, he said when I asked if he knew anything about his mother's activities. But about 6 months ago, Mom asked me not to mention to you that she had been going to Chicago on weekends. She said it was for work training. Chicago. That's where Robert was from. Did she say anything else? Well, Jake hesitated. She asked me to lie to you about where she was. She said it was temporary, just until she could figure things out. I felt terrible about it, Dad. My own son had been forced to lie to me for 6 months. I decided to dig deeper. I contacted my friend Mike, who worked at the bank where Laura and I had our accounts. Kevin, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, Mike said when we met for lunch, but Laura opened a separate account 3 months before you separated. She's been transferring money there regularly. 3 months before. So even before I caught her at the restaurant, she was already planning her exit strategy. How much? I asked. Last I checked, about $8,000. $8,000 of our money, quietly siphoned away while she was planning her new life. But the biggest revelation was yet to come. A week later, Melissa called me, crying. "Dad, I need to tell you something about Mom," she sobbed. "I can't keep it secret anymore." We met at her apartment. What she told me changed everything. "Dad, Mom wasn't just cheating with Robert. There was another man before him. His name was David. That was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. While I was working overtime to pay for Jake's college tuition, while I was trying to be the best husband I could be, Laura was having an affair with someone named David." "How do you know this?" "I saw them together at the mall. When I confronted Mom, she begged me not to tell you. She said it was over, that it was a mistake. She promised it would never happen again. But it did happen again. With Robert." "Melissa, why didn't you tell me?" "I was scared, Dad. I thought I was protecting our family. I thought if I stayed quiet, everything would go back to normal." That night I sat in my new apartment trying to process everything. Laura hadn't just betrayed me once. She had been systematically deceiving me for years. Multiple affairs, stolen money, lies involving our children. It was worse than I had ever imagined. But you know what the craziest part was? I felt relieved. All those times I thought something was wrong but couldn't put my finger on it. All those moments when Laura seemed distant or distracted. All those weekend work trips, and late nights at the office. It all made sense now. I had been living in a house of lies for years, and I hadn't even known it. The next morning I called my lawyer. "Johnson, I need to reopen the divorce case." "Kevin, the divorce is already finalized." "What's this about?" I told him everything. About the hidden bank accounts, the stolen money, the multiple affairs. "Kevin, this is financial fraud. We can pursue this." Within a month we had built a solid case. The evidence was overwhelming: bank records, witness testimonies from Jake and Melissa, even photos from Patricia's private investigator. Laura was forced to return every penny she had stolen, plus interest. The judge also awarded me additional damages for fraud and deception. But money wasn't what I was after. I wanted justice. The final hearing was on a cold Tuesday morning in February. Laura showed up looking haggard and defeated. Her lawyer tried to argue that the money transfers were for family purposes, but the evidence was too clear. When the judge announced his decision, full restitution plus damages totaling $15,000, Laura broke down crying in the courtroom. As we left the courthouse, she tried to approach me one last time. "Kevin, please. I know I made mistakes, but dash." I held up my hand to stop her. "Laura, mistakes are when you forget to buy milk or leave the iron on. What you did was make calculated decisions to betray our family for years. There's a difference." That was the last time I ever spoke to her. A year has passed since then. I found out from Jake that Laura never moved to California with Robert. Turns out, when Patricia divorced him and took half of everything, Robert decided he couldn't afford to start a new life after all. He went back to his ex-wife, leaving Laura with nothing. Now Laura works 2 part-time jobs, the cashier position at the supermarket and cleaning offices at night. She lives in a studio apartment on the bad side of town and drives a 15-year-old Honda that breaks down regularly. Meanwhile, I've built something new. My auto shop is thriving. Turns out, being free from the stress of a failing marriage made me a better businessman. I've hired 3 employees and we're booked solid for the next 2 months. I bought a nice townhouse in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine and it's peaceful. No lies, no deception, no wondering where my partner really is on those late nights. Jake graduated college with honors and landed a great job at an engineering firm. Melissa got promoted to manager at her marketing company. Both kids visit regularly and we have honest, open relationships now. No more family secrets. Last month, Jake asked me a question that really made me think. "Dad, do you ever regret how you handled things with Mom?" I thought about it for a while before answering. "Son, I regret that it happened at all. I regret that your mother made the choices she made. But I don't regret protecting myself and our family from further damage. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's destructive behavior." 3 weeks ago, I ran into Laura at the grocery store. She looked older, tired. For a moment, I felt a flicker of the old sympathy. Then I remembered the lies, the stolen money, the way she had manipulated our children into keeping her secrets. She saw me and started to say something, but I just nodded politely and continued with my shopping. I had nothing to say to her, and she had lost the right to my attention years ago. That evening, Melissa called me. "Dad, I saw Mom today. She looked rough." "How do you feel about that?" I asked. "Honestly, I feel sorry for her, but I also think she made her bed. You gave her everything, a beautiful home, a loving family, security. And she threw it all away for what? Affairs that didn't even work out? Out of the mouths of babes. You see, some people think that what I did was harsh. That I should have tried counseling, that I should have given her another chance. But here's what those people don't understand. Laura didn't make one mistake. She made hundreds of deliberate choices over several years. Each lie, each stolen dollar, each secret meeting was a choice to prioritize her own selfish desires over her family. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm not angry. I'm just free. Free from the constant underlying tension of living with someone who was living a double life. Free from wondering if the person sharing my bed actually wanted to be there. Free from the exhaustion of trying to fix something that was broken beyond repair. These days, I wake up in my own place, knowing exactly where I stand. I work hard, I spend time with my children, I'm building something real and honest. And you know what? For the first time in years, I'm genuinely happy. Some people might call what I did revenge. I call it self-respect. Would I do it all again the same way? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I didn't destroy our family. Laura did that all by herself, one lie at a time. I just refused to be collateral damage in her selfish choices. And that, I think, is the difference between being a victim and being a survivor. But the story doesn't end there. Life has a way of coming full circle, and sometimes karma works in the most unexpected ways. 6 months after our final court hearing, I received a phone call that I never saw coming. It was from Robert's ex-wife, Patricia. "Kevin, I have some news about Laura that I thought you should know," she said, her voice carrying a mix of satisfaction and concern. "I'm listening," I replied, though I wasn't sure I wanted to hear more about my ex-wife's downfall. "She's been arrested." That got my attention. For what? Embezzlement. From her job at the supermarket. Apparently, she's been skimming money from the registers for months. They finally caught her when the security cameras showed her pocketing cash during transactions. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me felt vindicated. This was the same pattern of behavior she'd shown in our marriage. But another part of me felt genuinely sad that she had sunk so low. "How much money are we talking about?" I asked. "Over $3,000. It's a felony charge, Kevin. She's looking at potential jail time." After hanging up with Patricia, I sat in my office at the auto shop, trying to process this information. Laura, the woman I had once loved enough to marry and start a family with, was now facing criminal charges for stealing. It was like she had become a completely different person from the woman I thought I knew. Jake called me that evening. "Dad, did you hear about Mom?" "Yes, Patricia Williams called me." "I visited her at the jail today," Jake said quietly. "Dad, she's not doing well. She asked me to call you to see if you would consider helping with bail money." I was quiet for a long moment. "What did you tell her?" "I told her I'd ask, but that I understood if you said no." "Jake, your mother made her choices. Each step of the way she chose deception over honesty, selfishness over family. I can't keep enabling that behavior even now." "I know, Dad." I told her the same thing. "But she's still my mom, you know?" "I understand, son. And if you want to help her, that's your decision. But I can't be part of that." 2 weeks later, Melissa called with an update. "Dad, Mom called me from jail. She's been there for 10 days now because she couldn't make bail. She actually apologized." "Apologized for what?" "For everything. For the lies, for the affairs, for stealing from you, for dragging Jake and me into her deception. She said she finally understands what she lost." I listened, but I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no sympathy. Just emptiness where those emotions used to be. "How do you feel about that?" I asked Melissa. "Honestly? Too little too late." She had years to make different choices. She had multiple opportunities to come clean and try to save our family. But she kept choosing the easy lie over the hard truth. My daughter was wise beyond her years. The trial took place 3 months later. I didn't attend, but Jake did. He called me afterward. "She got 18 months, Dad. But with good behavior she might be out in 12. How is she handling it?" "She cried a lot. Her lawyer said she's been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. She's getting counseling in prison." I found myself hoping that the counseling would help her understand the damage she had caused, not just to me but to our children. But I also knew that understanding and changing were two different things. During Laura's incarceration, something unexpected happened. I started dating again. Her name was Sarah. Not the same Sarah that Laura used to lie about meeting, but a different Sarah who worked as a nurse at the local hospital. We met when I brought my neighbor's elderly mother there after she fell and hurt her hip. Sarah was everything Laura wasn't: honest to a fault, straightforward in her communication, and completely transparent about her past. She had been divorced for 5 years after discovering that her ex-husband had been gambling away their savings. She understood betrayal, but she had chosen to heal rather than become bitter. "I won't lie to you about anything, even small things," she told me on our third date. "I learned that little lies become big lies and big lies destroy everything." 6 months into our relationship, Sarah met Jake and Melissa. They loved her immediately. "Dad," Melissa said after Sarah left one evening, "she's so different from Mom. You can tell she actually listens when you talk. And she laughs at your terrible jokes." "My jokes aren't terrible," I protested. "Dad, they're awful. But Sarah laughs anyway because she cares about you." It was true. Sarah brought light into my life in a way I had forgotten was possible. With Laura, I had spent the last years of our marriage walking on eggshells, trying to figure out what was wrong, why she seemed so distant. With Sarah, everything was easy and natural. A year into our relationship, Laura was released from prison. Jake told me she looked completely different, thinner, grayer, aged beyond her years. "She asked about you, Dad," he said during one of our weekly dinners. "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That you're doing well. That you have the auto shop, the new house, and that you're seeing someone." "How did she react?" "She started crying. Said she knew she had no right to feel hurt about you moving on, but that it still hurt." I felt a flicker of the old sympathy, but it passed quickly. Laura's pain was the consequence of her own choices. I had spent too many years trying to fix problems I didn't create. 3 months after her release, Laura tried to contact me directly. She came to the auto shop one afternoon when she knew I'd be there. "Kevin, please, just give me 5 minutes, she pleaded when I saw her standing by the entrance. I looked at her, really looked at her. Prison had aged her dramatically. Her hair was almost completely gray now, and she had deep lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. But what struck me most was that she looked small, defeated. Against my better judgment, I agreed to talk. "I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness," she began, her voice shaky. "But I need you to know that I understand now what I destroyed. Not just our marriage, but our family, our children's trust, everything we built together." I listened without interrupting. I was selfish and cowardly. I was afraid of getting older, afraid of being ordinary, afraid of facing the problems in our marriage honestly. So I escaped into fantasy relationships where I could pretend to be someone else. She paused, wiping her eyes. "The counseling in prison helped me understand that I was always running from something. From responsibility, from truth, from the hard work that real relationships require. And in running, I destroyed the only real thing I ever had." "Laura," I said gently, "I appreciate you telling me this. But understanding what you did wrong doesn't undo the damage." "I know. I'm not asking for you to take me back or even to forgive me. I'm asking if you think our children will ever be able to trust me again." That question surprised me. For the first time since this whole ordeal began, Laura was thinking about someone other than herself. "That's not up to me," I replied. "That's between you and them. But if you want to rebuild those relationships, you'll need to be consistent, honest, and patient. It will take years if it's even possible." She nodded, fresh tears streaming down her face. "Kevin, I want you to know that seeing you move on, seeing you happy, it actually gives me hope. Not hope that we could ever be together again, but hope that it's possible to build something real and good after everything falls apart." We talked for another few minutes and then she left. It was the most honest conversation we'd had in years, maybe ever. That evening, I told Sarah about Laura's visit. "How do you feel about it?" she asked, the way she always did when I needed to process something. "Surprisingly okay." She seemed genuinely different. Not fixed, but aware of the damage she caused. "It's more than I expected from her." "Do you think she's really changed?" I thought about it. I think prison and consequences forced her to confront who she really is. Whether that leads to lasting change, I don't know. But it's not my problem to solve anymore. Sarah squeezed my hand. "I love that about you, Kevin. You can show compassion without sacrificing your boundaries." 2 years have passed since that conversation with Laura. She's been working steadily, first at a fast food restaurant, then eventually getting a job as a receptionist at a dental office. According to Jake, she's been going to therapy regularly and hasn't shown any signs of the deceptive behavior that characterized our marriage. She's slowly rebuilding relationships with our children. Melissa was more resistant at first, but even she has started having occasional coffee dates with her mother. Jake, ever the optimist, has been more willing to give her chances to prove she's changed. "She's different, Dad," he told me recently. "She asks about us instead of just talking about herself. She remembers things we tell her. And when she makes plans, she actually keeps them. I'm glad for my children that they might have the opportunity to have a real relationship with their mother, finally. But I also watch from a distance, knowing that my own chapter with Laura closed long ago. As for me, Sarah and I got engaged last month. It was simple and perfect, no drama, no games, no hidden agendas. Just two people who found each other after learning hard lessons about what real love actually looks like. The proposal happened at Giuseppe's restaurant, at the same table where I first discovered Laura's betrayal. But this time, instead of heartbreak, there was joy. Instead of lies, there was truth. Instead of an ending, it was a new beginning. "Are you sure about this place?" Sarah had asked when I suggested the restaurant. "I'm sure. I want to replace the bad memory with a good one." When I got down on one knee, Sarah started crying before I even opened the ring box. "Yes," she said before I could ask the question. "Whatever you're asking, yes. We're planning a small wedding for next spring. Jake will be my best man, and Melissa will walk Sarah down the aisle since her own father passed away years ago. It will be a celebration of second chances and new beginnings." Sometimes people ask me if I hate Laura for what she did to our family. The answer is no. Hate is exhausting and it keeps you tied to the person who hurt you. I've learned to see her as someone who was deeply flawed and made terrible choices, but also as someone who gave me two incredible children and taught me valuable lessons about what I will and won't accept in a relationship. Her betrayal, as painful as it was, ultimately set me free to find something real and healthy. If she hadn't shown me who she truly was, I might have spent the rest of my life in a mediocre marriage, never knowing what genuine partnership could feel like. So in a strange way, I'm grateful. Not for the pain, not for the deception, but for the clarity it provided and the strength it forced me to find within myself. Today I'm a successful business owner, a proud father, and soon-to-be husband to a woman who loves me for exactly who I am. I wake up every morning knowing that the person next to me chose to be there and will tell me the truth, even when it's difficult. That's what freedom looks like after betrayal, not the absence of love but the presence of trust. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Maybe YouTube will no longer offer you my channel, so subscribe to it by clicking subscribe on the right under the video to receive new interesting stories. Also on the right of the video there is a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to, and you can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.